Hey guys, it's Jenna. In today's video, we're going to be going over a brand new foundation that I know you guys are super excited about. I actually polled you on my community tab recently asking what are your favorite, most exciting products that you want me to review. And this was one that kept coming up. This is the RMS Beauty new foundation from them. It's called the ReEvolve Natural Finish Foundation. This is an interesting one. I actually ordered this to my US address. This isn't available at Sephora Canada yet, so I did pick it up there, and it's very interesting right off the bat. I actually just took a look at the packaging and I was like, this is actually quite a large package for a foundation. And this one also has a twist up cap to actually access the foundation. So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, let's talk about what this is supposed to do. So just pulling up Sephora Canada again. Now, it's interesting. They do have their hydrating primer that's supposed to be this Radiance primer. This is also something that I'll probably pick up right away and just see how it works with this foundation. But today is just going to be the foundation test. So very interesting that that's available at Sephora Canada, the primer, but not the foundation yet. There are 16 shades listed at Sephora right now. It is supposed to be a clean at Sephora product, natural finish, medium coverage. There's no silicones, long wearing, liquid formula, of course. It's a non-pore clogging, silicone-free foundation. There's also the skincare properties as well. It's supposed to have, so when brands do this, I don't really know what to expect. It's basically like brands that they put their own kind of concoction together, and they call it something unique. This one's called Titanol as a highlighted ingredient. It's supposed to visibly firm, tone, and smooth. And this looks like it's a trademarked kind of ingredient. So I'm not sure what that really means, except that it's supposed to firm, tone, and smooth. So let's just go with that. There's vegetable squalane, which is a moisture-rich plant-based emollient that hydrates the skin. And there's also adaptogenic herbal blends, which is supposed to balance, soothe, soften, and hydrate. It's actually lightweight in the hand. It's very plasticky. This is, I believe, a refillable. I'm just trying to take a look if it's a refillable one because it looks like it's bulky enough that it would be a refillable. Okay, so it comes in recyclable packaging, but it doesn't claim, at least on Sephora, to be a refillable one. So at least it's recycling friendly, but for refillable purposes, apparently not. So it kind of goes like this, like I showed you earlier, and there's actually a little spout right at the end. So this feels very plasticky, lightweight in the hand. There's a little bit of a glossy finish on the package as well, but it's actually quite bulky and big. Right, compared to some other ones. Now the shade that I picked up is a pure guess. Of course, this is the 11.5 shade, and there's actually 0.98 fluid ounces. So it's actually not quite a full fluid ounce. That is typically a foundation. When you purchase one, you usually get about 1 fluid ounce per package. And this one's just shy of like 0.02, just shy of a milliliter. Basically, the conversion is 29 milliliters. So I haven't primed my skin at all. I did moisturize it with my morning skincare, but that's it. And you can see I do have a lot of sun on my face right now, like lots of sun. I actually burned a little bit, which is, not great. You don't want to do that. When I was surfing on my vacation, which was so fun, and I forgot to reapply my sunscreen. And when you're on your butt falling off the board all the time, you have to think to put more sunscreen on, but I didn't. So there goes my fate. Already not the biggest fan of this spout. So I just poured out a little bit onto my Beauty Blender sponge, and it's a little bit like weird. It sort of shoots out inconsistently at times, but it's not too bad. So, wow. Already. Now you guys know my skin's a little darker right now than what it typically is, but that's a lot. This is definitely a medium to full coverage, I would say. I have some markers on my skin that sort of help me figure out when it comes to coverage. One being that I have acne scars or like hyperpigmentation marks. If they cover that, I feel like, okay, that's good because they're not super dark. So I know it's kind of like a medium coverage. But if it actually covers my beauty marks or my moles, whatever you want to call it, like completely, then I know it's a full. So it's definitely a medium. It's very easy applying with a sponge right now. You can see it does have a little bit of a glow, but it's supposed to be a natural finish. Now for me, a natural finish is just sort of I know some people say natural is really supposed to be neither glowy nor matte, but sometimes it's kind of up to interpretation what you believe a natural finish would be. Some people do say a natural finish is like a little bit of a glow poking through, but not dewy, right? Based on my experience, that's kind of what I would think. Like a natural is just a little bit of like that healthy glow look, but not dewy, right? And it's doing that right now anyway. This is an interesting shade range as well. Let me see what this one described as. I can't quite remember what 11.5 was. 11.5 was buff beige with neutral undertones. This is the best neutral that I could get, I guess. But there's a lot of them that have yellow undertones. And when you see on my camera, it is fairly neutral, which is nice. With 16 shades though, there's not a ton to play with. So that's kind of a disappointing thing about this one, especially when we just got news that the House Labs by Lady Gaga is actually putting out a 50 shade range foundation. 50. That is insane, and I'm so excited to test that one out when it comes out. I've literally been waiting by my computer and searching that brand until we find a date. Can you guys see? No, not really. It's getting dirty, the outer packaging, because what's happening is that spout is actually just shooting it downward onto my sponge, right? And it's just not the best packaging style. I don't know, like it's just not my favorite. It does the job for sure, but not a fan of kind of the inconsistency. You get like little spurts of product even when you push all the way down, and then sometimes it shoots out a little bit faster. So make sure when you're actually opening up the package for the first time that you're really like warming it up. Like press it a few times before and be ready for a sudden jolt before you actually open up the product. So now I've got my first layer on. It's actually not a bad match. If you guys can see, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. So this so far, a couple of things I'm gonna mention right off the bat when I do this test. So when you're actually dealing with a sunburn, you guys know what comes with sunburn is flaky skin. Despite me using exfoliants to kind of help lighten that and fluff that off, I'm still getting a little bit of some loose skin on my nose, like flaky skin, and then also a little bit on my forehead line. It is collecting with the foundation right now, and that's normal, just because I'm dealing with this. So I'm gonna disregard that when we're talking about this review, because that's gonna happen regardless of any foundation you put on. But with the rest of my skin, there's a little bit of, how do I describe this? Like it's already seeming to collect into lines and stuff, and then it's sort of breaking apart a little bit under my eyes already. Like you can tell there's a little bit of, I don't know, like some clinging maybe. I'm not sure what's going on there, but right off the bat, it seems to cling on parts of my face that shouldn't be flaking off, right? So like when you see my skin up close, it's not the most even ideal finish on the skin where it's like perfectly set yet. It's already getting kind of bunchy with certain spots on my face. It's almost making my skin look more dry than it is. Like even here already I'm seeing some dryness kind of around the mouth already as well, and it's been freshly applied. So I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup and then we will talk again before I do my check-ins. This is not my favorite foundation, like right off the top. I really want to set it with something hydrating, and I haven't set anything yet, but that's literally how I feel. Like as I'm looking at my skin, I feel like it's just a little bit too like dry looking. If you have dry skin, I think this might be really tough for you to manage. My skin type is actually normal, so it's neither oily nor dry. And this is definitely looking dry on my skin, that's for sure. So it's absolutely a slight powdery natural finish for sure. It does lean, in my opinion, a little bit on the matte side of things when it comes to setting completely down, but it does look like it's just gathering and sort of like crumbly a little bit in certain spots. There's even some stuff in like my eye area, along my chin, just things breaking apart already. So I didn't prime it, remember, and I didn't set it yet. I need to set it. Like, it just looks, especially, but this is where my skin's peeling. It's just right here, not great. And like gathering already in my lines. And this has been on, gosh, half an hour right now. Going back to the beginning of my video, I was kind of confused why this wasn't a refillable package, but it absolutely is. Apparently, you can take this out. I actually looked at the RMS beauty site. So on Sephora, it doesn't have any information about that yet. And that's what I was looking at first. When you actually go on the RMS beauty website, you do see this is a refillable one as well. So I'm thinking that the Sephora retailer might not be offering the refills. And that's probably why they didn't say that necessarily. So it's just kind of a correction to make. The primer has a refill, and Sephora does have the refill as well. So you can order that if you want. I'm going to be pairing it because it offers some radiance behind it, and that might be the key to making this look a little bit nicer on my skin. It also could just be that I'm not one that likes to have a super powdery or like a leaning matte type foundation anyway, so this is sort of leaning that way, but even a beautiful matte will still look even on the skin, and this is just not one that I feel like is even right now. I don't know what's going on with my upper lip area. It just seems to be like kind of patchy and stuff, so I feel like this one's a little bit tougher, a little bit trickier to work with. It's actually driving me crazy not having like any like smoothness or hydration. So I am going to do a light spritz of the Airbrush Flawless Spray from Charlotte Tilbury. I just needed it, guys. It felt too like by itself. It was so strange. So hopefully this Charlotte will give it a little bit of a nice smoothness. And then I'll know for sure. I'll let you guys know if it completely looks better after the setting spray sets. Okay, so it has been 12 hours since I put on the foundation and sort of struggled my way through it. So like I expected, this wore not that bad actually throughout the hours compared to when I first put it on. So when I first put it on, it was giving me some trouble. When it started setting, it was not like the most flattering in certain spots. Granted, like I said, sunburned skin is going to make it harder regardless to put on foundation despite doing exfoliation and stuff. There's even a piece that completely came off of my nose, like right at the tip, and that is where I have a ton of damage from the sunburn. So the fact that the foundation didn't really stay there, that is just, I think most foundations would have a hard time with that spot, especially because the skin's healing. There's certain spots, especially too, where I've got some flaking around the frame of my face, and of course that clung there. But otherwise, it did cling to other lines on my face, and it continued to do that and sort of settle a little bit more as we went throughout the night. So now it's significantly curved in with my dimple line and my like laugh lines or mouth lines. It's weird how it kind of didn't give me a ton of favors in the upper lip area, and I don't know why. It was like patchy. Like certain spots were fine and certain spots weren't. It's like very uneven when it applies. Mess is at the very beginning. So then as you wear it, like as it's wearing throughout the day, it's actually not too bad. It seems to hold its own and not break apart in a patchy way or, you know, fade in an ununiform way. It's actually perfect as it wears, but all of your issues are right at the top when you actually apply it. When I applied it with my Beauty Blender sponge, it was a damp sponge. I felt like it actually blended out beautifully. It did feel like it had a nice medium coverage. It is buildable, but this is one that you're going to need to baby, at least if you have preferences like me. If you are a dry skin gal, man, really hydrate that base and make sure that you have no flaky skin, nothing that it can cling to. And if that's your skin type, that's going to be really tough to do. I would actually just completely avoid if that's the case because there's so many more out there that are better. My guess is that a nice hydrating base is going to do you wonders. If you have oily skin, this actually might mesh the best with you. However, it's tough when it's a little bit like patchy and ununiform when you actually apply it. And I did feel like I was applying it relatively evenly, like the same method I normally use with other bases that don't make it so starkly obvious, right? Like it's almost like if you mess up a little bit and you put a little bit extra in one spot, it's not going to be forgiving. It's going to actually blindly show you like, ugh, this right here, you messed up, right? It's not like a beginner friendly base, in my opinion. It's one that you kind of have to baby. That's really what it is. And it's not doing my skin any favors. Let's put it that way. When I see my skin, I feel like it looks a little bit worse than without foundation. And that's kind of my thought there. So that's why my recommendation is no right now. If I can make it work, I will let you guys know, but maybe if you have oily skin, you might do a little bit better. It might mesh with those oils nicely and give you a bit more of a uniform base. I'm not really sure. I do like that it's a refillable product. I do like that it's recyclable. It's definitely something that I think a lot of products should be doing nowadays, but the Hourglass foundation that just came out is way, way better. The Lancome one that just came out is way, way better. How the rest of the foundation launches go, especially the House Labs one, I'm really curious about that one myself. Until my next one, guys, don't forget to subscribe for more high-end and luxury beauty reviews. And until my next one, take care and stay safe. Bye, guys.